Welcome. Today, we're diving into the world of the most gripping movies and series about epidemics and viruses. These stories will send chills down your spine and reveal just how thin the line is between calm and global chaos. Here's our list of 10 productions that take you into the eye of the pandemic, showcasing deep human emotions in the face of danger. Number 10. Virus. In an Indian city, a deadly epidemic transforms peaceful lives into a nightmare. What begins as a mild fever quickly turns into a struggle for every breath. People fall, as if an invisible hand is erasing them from this world, while the air fills with the scent of suffering. Doctors and nurses stand on the front lines, battling a merciless virus. We witness the tragedy of neighbors, friends, families. Each infection is deeply personal. The city grows silent, streets empty, and families lock themselves away, knowing the virus draws closer. Every contact is a risk, every touch a survival gamble, where one mistake means a lonely end in a hospital bed. Number 9. Contagion. A silent, invisible killer is sweeping across continents, attacking without warning. It starts with a cough and fever, but before anyone has time to react, the deadly virus takes over the body, causing hemorrhages and paralyzing convulsions. Hospitals fill with terrified victims, and doctors battle something they can't understand or stop. Day by day, the world is descending into chaos. Cities are being shut down, streets are empty, and death lurks on every corner. The government tries to control the panic, but humanity succumbs to fear and suspicion, revealing the darkest corners of human nature. In this claustrophobic world, every breath and touch becomes a risk, and the inevitable question hangs in the air. Who will manage to survive, and who will become the next victim of this ruthless epidemic? Number 8. To the lake. The virus is decimating the country, and there is no more room for escape. Cities become a wasteland, death lurks around every corner, and people who once trusted each other now become the greatest threat. In the midst of this chaos, Sergei, a man with a dark past, is trying to save his family. Together with his ex-wife, current partner, and their children, he embarks on a journey through the endless winter wilderness of Russia, seeking refuge away from the virus. As they struggle against the constant cold, lack of food, and deadly dangers, they slowly begin to realize that their worst enemy may be someone in their group. Paranoia grows. Every step could be a trap, and the slightest tremor of the hand induces panic. There is no room for weakness in this brutal world. Only those who are willing to sacrifice everything can survive. Number 7. Helix. In the icy reaches of the Arctic, in a secluded, state-of-the-art facility, something nightmarish has awakened. Scientists who were meant to study unknown viruses become victims of a deadly epidemic, the effects of which are worse than the darkest imaginings. An alien virus infects their bodies, seizing control of their minds, transforming people into terrifying, ruthless beings with an insatiable hunger for death. When a government team of specialists arrives, they find that every step in this frozen wasteland is a trap, every decision a potential last. Surrounded by locked lab doors, they feel the weight of paranoia, watched by a sinister force that threatens to destroy them from within. Time becomes their worst enemy, and the fight for survival here is not only a race against the virus, but a race against a dark truth, one whose revelation could mean the end of everything we know. Number 6. The Andromeda Strain. Scientific experiments on Earth lead to a disturbing discovery. A satellite brings a deadly life form to our planet. This thing has a power that no one expected. It spreads, consuming all life, turning people into mortal victims in just a few hours. Horror begins to mount when a small town suddenly becomes the epicenter of a deadly plague, and everyone who had the misfortune to be nearby falls dead, as if an invisible hand has suddenly taken their lives. Scientists try to fight the clock by isolating a deadly virus known as Andromeda, which seems to respond to attempts at destruction by adapting and changing. Panic grows as it becomes clear that Andromeda is much more than a virus. It is a life form capable of surviving and thriving, and could end humanity's existence in the blink of an eye. Number 5. 12 Monkeys. The future is a void, full of ruins and ashes, where humanity is dying after the brutal impact of a mysterious virus. The few survivors are hiding in the underground, fighting for every breath, every step. At the heart of this despair comes a desperate mission: time travel, which is the last hope to save the world. The man chosen for this dangerous expedition is sent into the past to find the source of the epidemic, a seemingly elusive group known as the Army of the 12 Monkeys. Each step brings him closer to the grim truth, whose traces stretch like shadows into the past. Traces of death, secrets, and dark conspiracies that draw him deeper and deeper until the line between reality and nightmare begins to blur. Number 4. Carriers. 4 survivors in a world gripped by a terrifying epidemic roam the wilderness, where every person they meet can be a deadly threat. The virus, deadly and merciless, turns people into tormented shadows of themselves, and those who still breathe live in constant fear. Hard rules reign. The infected must be avoided, and any interaction with strangers carries the risk of irreversible consequences. The moment is approaching when everything is in short supply: fuel, food, and above all, hope. In the dark reality, morality is decaying, and every choice brings new nightmarish challenges. The disease knows no mercy, and their journey becomes a desperate race in which human nature is as dangerous as the virus itself. Number 3. The Hot Zone. On a US military base, in the silence of a sterile laboratory, there is the discovery of something that should never leave the depths of the African forests: the Ebola virus. This deadly disease, which causes horrific hemorrhaging and internal decomposition within days, is so terrifying that scientists are calling it a viral apocalypse. When a small slice of the virus accidentally ends up in a laboratory near Washington, the realization that this inconspicuous package could trigger a pandemic begins to paralyze everyone. At any moment, the risk of infection threatens those who are trying to stop the disease. The laboratory turns into a place of horror, where fighting an invisible enemy becomes a nightmare. And in all this, one question remains: will those on the front lines be able to stop the inevitable, or is this just the beginning of the end? Number 2. The Strain. There is dead silence on board the plane, which lands at New York Airport. All the lights go out, and the passengers are unresponsive. Epidemiologist Ephraim Goodweather and his team are called in to investigate what happened. But what they discover surpasses their worst nightmares. A virus that transforms people into bloodthirsty monsters is only the beginning. The city is overrun by a mysterious plague that turns people into soulless creatures, bloodthirsty and obedient to only one ancient entity. Each day brings more victims, and the number of infected grows exponentially. Goodweather and his team, with weapons in hand, must fight forces whose nature exceeds human reason, and every shadow can hide a deadly threat. Number 1. Flu. In the blink of an eye, a peaceful life turns into a nightmare. The deadly H5N1 virus spreads rapidly, spreading death through the crowded streets of Seoul. People are dropping like flies, faces contorted in agony, and hospital corridors are filled with shrill screams. The government decides on extreme measures. The entire city is shut down, and no one can escape. It's a trap with no way out, where piles of bodies lie in the streets, and residents are helplessly drawn into the vortex of chaos. In the face of the epidemic, there is no mercy. Those who are infected are isolated, abandoned to certain death. Every contact with another human being becomes a struggle for survival, and every cough triggers a wave of panic. That wraps up our list. Let us know in the comments which title left the biggest impact on you, and if there are any other movies or series about epidemics you'd recommend to others. Thanks for watching.